Ouch. And we are live. Beautiful. Ladies, how are we doing?
We're doing great.
How are
Awesome. I'm doing good. I'm still reeling from Squad Up. It was amazing. Tracy, Pam, so glad to have you guys here today. It's going to be a wonderful interview as always. Carly, you're so fabulous. I love you, Carly. You're fantastic. I really do.
Everybody loves Carly.
Everybody loves Carly.
each other.
Right? So I'm supposed to normally patients like Derek, please come with the announcement. Man, let people know what's going on in the community. Let people know what's going on up and coming. Well, Pace, today is going to be Derek and Carly Day. We're going to talk about Squad Up for like 2 seconds, okay?
Okay.
I had an absolutely amazing time at Squad Up. I had the experience, the privilege of speaking to grown men, and 2 of them, because of their life stories, they started crying. I'm not making this up. I'm serious. I cried once. I tried to be tough about it, but I'm like, drop one tear like Denzel in the movie Glory.
Allergies.
Yeah, like, a lot of dust, right? But the stories. I met a young man named Armando who was homeless last year. He's now making $12,000 a month doing Gator, and I'm looking at this kid. He's 24 years old. I'm like, are you serious?
Wow.
Again, I work for Pace from a social media standpoint. I love what I do, and Pace would always say, until you are around the community, you really don't get it. And I didn't trust. I'm like, whatever, Pace, whatever. Okay, you'll say anything. No, it really is huge. You guys were so loving to me and kind, and I was running around like a kid with my head chopped off. I burned a lot of calories, so I had a great time. How was your time, Carly? That's Squad Up.
Oh my God, it was so much. Like we could be here all day. It was just like you said. It's so true. Just being in it and feeling the energy of the room. And like, I see everybody on Zooms and I know everybody, and just to hug them and give them a real life hug. And it takes it to another level, the connection and lots of business opportunities for everybody happening in there too. So lots of knowledge and moving forward.
Yes. Yeah. There were like thousands of people there, and I wasn't there to connect. I was there to work and make sure things went smoothly for people. And I walked away with like 126 contacts. Like, it's amazing. So it was wonderful. But let's get on with the show, ladies. I know you have a lot to talk about. So I'm going to step back. Enjoy, ladies.
Thanks, Derek.
Thank you, Derek. Well, good afternoon, ladies. Tracy and
Carly.
Pam. How are you guys?
Rested now.
I'm not rested yet. I didn't get up until a little after 1 last night, but
Fun.
amazing.
I'm recovering. I got sick. But anyways, we're not here. Squad Up Summit was awesome, but I want to hear about this 22% return in 30 days that you guys got. So I'm filling in last minute for someone. So I'm going to learn with everyone else. Is this a sub 2 deal? Is this a Gator deal? What kind of deal are we talking about?
Yeah, good question.
All right, Trace.
You want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay. So this was a Gator deal. It was we call it our worst and our best because it was one of our first loans and we were still learning a lot. We had an amazing TC transaction coordinator named Rochelle Odell and a wonderful, wonderful connector. Gosh, Pam, what was our Jacob Medina. They're both terrific. If you see them in our Facebook community, definitely reach out to them. They're both fantastic. So they helped us a lot. We'd done our homework, so we felt like we knew what we were doing. And, things just happened. So it was just a good old-fashioned 30-day Gator deal. It was some gap funding that she needed while she was, her refi was taking longer than anticipated. And it went south.
It's supposed to be 30 days.
It was actually 60. It was supposed to be 30.
So you found this deal from a connector within the community. It was supposed to be a 30-day deal for, did you say PML, right?
Yes.
Which this is just for the acronyms, what does PML stand for those that may not know?
Mm-hmm.
Private money lender.
Yes. And that's something that we learn in Gator. And that's something usually like a fix and flip. What were they doing with this money?
She had bought the property, was turning it into shared housing for vets. And so she had already taken out a private money loan in order to do all that work. And she was now in the process of refinancing. But as we know, refinances don't always go as quickly as we hope, especially when the market shifts. And that's something I'd love to touch on later if we have time, because we find that that's an issue a lot. So anyway, the market shifted a little and she was not able to get the property appraised for what she needed in order to get the refinance. And so she needed some gap time to get another appraisal and or do whatever she had to do to get that appraisal.
So touch on the market shift for just 2 seconds, because I think it's important. What happened in the market that you wanted to touch on that caused this?
Sure. So this was in a time when it's like the rates were starting to shift. She was applying for a DSCR, so a debt service credit ratio loan. And those loans are literally based on a ratio of, what income is it going to bring in? What's the ARV? What can you afford? And when the rates change, your interest rate, if the rates go up, your payment goes up, and that then changes that whole ratio. And the debt service ratio itself was changing at that time. Most lenders were going to lend at like a 0.9% prior, just even 30 days had gone by. And all of a sudden, a lot of lenders were like looking at 1% or 1.1% for that debt service number. And so it didn't come in. And so we see that often when we talk with lenders, and that's their only exit strategy. And we require that they have a relationship at that point with the lender. If they don't, then they need to real quick, start getting some pre-approvals.
Yeah.
I love that Alpha Gator is an option for that. They can go in, they can get a pre-approval. And that's going to at least we want to make sure that there is lenders out there that are going to come back and say, yeah, this works.
Right. Pre-approval of some sort.
Yep.
But it is surprising how many people that's not like they don't, when they come to us, and those are questions that we ask, like, what's your exit strategy? Like, what is your backup plan if it doesn't go the way it's supposed to go? And they're like, oh, well, I'll just get a DSCR loan or I'll do that, and it's like, well, have you looked into that yet? These things take time and you might not qualify. And so we find that we are educating over and over about, those types of things that they know they're available, but they almost wait to the last minute. I know there are times that someone will come to us, say, for a 3-month loan and they want a PML. And when we start doing we're looking at all the documents, we're like, well, wait a minute, you need to secure the PML at close, and then you're going to do the rehab. And then you got to put it on the market because you want to sell it. That's 90 days is really cut. Oh, well, I know my contractor. Okay, well, you could know your contractor. Now, I'm not saying it can't happen. And we always say, of course it is possible. But if you're going to start paying late fees, you have 2 things going on. That's more out-of-pocket expense. Can you handle that? And second of all, what about the relationship you're trying to create with the PML? If you want repeat business, the first out of the gate, you're going to be late on the first loan. Now, we all know that, and we've learned, they don't always come back on time. But if that's part of your strategy, oh, well, I'll just be late with it. That's a heck of a way to get into it from the get-go. So that's what we're trying to, as we go, educate on both ends, from the connector's standpoint, the borrower and the lender, just to create that relationship. Let's look at the unexpected. Let's have a backup plan. Let's check out if you could qualify for a DSCR loan, if that's one of your exit strategies.
And what these gals are talking about, so they're Gators, they're doing Gator deals, and we'll get to the 22% return in 30 days, which is a lot. But I want to just stop and talk about what they just talked about. They got a 22% return in 30 days, which is amazing. But what did they do first? They did their due diligence. They're just not going to be like, sure, where do I wire the money? No, they're like, you need to get with other lenders. You need to make sure you're bankable. This is what you need to do. We understand things can be late. Let's plan for that and have an exit strategy. So these gals did something that was very, very, very smart, where they're doing their due diligence. They're making sure all their ducks in a row before they just wire over this money. So that will also ensure that your money comes back to you. Of course, like they said, things can be late, but you work it into your plan.
Yeah.
So thank you for saying that. I think that's so important because we're all like, 22% return in 30 days. Here's my money. But there's a lot more in between that. So, okay, so you did your due diligence. You made sure everything was good. And lo and behold, it was late.
Yes.
Lo and behold.
And lo and behold, surprise, surprise, surprise.
But the attitude in the beginning was this. I think the attitude, Trace, don't you agree, was a little scary because she was very blasé about it. And our connector, we have to give him kudos again. Our connector worked from the minute he connected with us until the deal was done and resolved and paid. He would make those calls. He called the transactional coordinator. He reached out to the title company. He reached out to her, to the borrower. He was going to bat. And then at one point we're like, well, can we call the attorney? And he's like, well, of course you can, but he did everything. He was the middleman, if you will. And her attitude in the beginning was very like, all right, well, maybe Monday, that's exactly kind of how coming back. And it was like, well, does she realize the late fees are going to start to accrue? We weren't even thinking about like having a foreclose on her. We were thinking like, oh my gosh, like, she's got some hefty late fees that we didn't even ask for. That was just built into, okay, you're going to get promissory note, all the paperwork, and the late fees. And it was spelt out exactly what time and when and what would the next procedure be. Like, so it was spelt out for everyone, including her. And the first week, it was like, wow, like it doesn't sound like, okay, the estimate came back or the appraisal came back too low. And then she's going to use somebody else. But then from there, it was like, she wouldn't answer anyone. She was ghosting people. And then knowing, oh, let's get a payoff. We're going to do it by Thursday. And would get everything, or Jacob would get everything we needed, and Rochelle. And then she wouldn't respond. And it was like, you have no intentions of doing it on Thursday. She was just like buying time. Yeah.
We must have submitted multiple payoff statements. And that's a payoff statement is, for those that maybe don't know, is a document that you would send to the title company to release the lien that you have on the property. And there's an amount, and usually you'll give a couple of days. This is if you do it today, tomorrow, the next day. So it was definitely, I will say, Jacob Medina really taught us what it meant to be a good connector. And we've taken that and really run with it and crafted our own kind of business model. We like to refer to ourselves as funding liaisons, because like Jacob, we hold your hand all the way through. And in this case, we were potentially going to have to foreclose, and he was there the whole way through. He was talking through us. It would have been our first time. And he was talking to us and through the process. So let's see. So she was late, like Pam was saying, really like blah, like, oh, well, whenever.
Stringing us along is what she's doing.
And then we realized that, and this is why we say worst and best, because it got really scary when we really started to think about what it meant to be a second lien position on a multi-million-dollar home with a $7,000 a month mortgage.
Let me stop and just be like, what is second lien? Second lien is, there's a lien. So the mortgage is the first lien. So if the house gets sold, they're the first person that gets paid. Second position means they're second. So everybody else before them have to be paid off before they get paid off. Yep. So lenders like to be first position because they know they'll get their money back.
Right.
Yes.
It was 300,000+, I believe, in equity beyond the first lien. So we felt really comfortable that if this were to go to foreclosure, we would at least walk away with our initial investment and at least 100 to 150,000 extra. But what we didn't take into account was what are we going to do while we're hanging on to this $1 million home with a $7,000 a month mortgage?
Loan to own. That's one lesson
And
we
that's
learned.
where we,
Yes.
Loan to own. You have to realize that if it became our property, what would we do with that property? How could we manage that property? And today might be a whole different scenario for Tracy and I, but back then we didn't have necessarily those
Right.
connections and the know-how of how we're going to navigate through that. So that was why it was kind of the worst. It was kind of scary contacting a lawyer, and we wanted to stop being proactive as we approached certain dates and demand letters and all that jazz. So it got very hairy. It certainly did. Definitely a lesson that we were learning.
Mhm.
Pro tip, if you want to be a wonderful borrower, there's no such thing as over communication, especially when things go late. Things can go late. Like they said, they expected them to.
Yeah.
Lenders get nervous when you ghost. Then we're like, what's going on? So as a borrower, if there's any borrowers out there, over communication is key. They will work with you. They
Absolutely.
worked it into their plan. Just let them know.
Yeah.
Right.
So, okay, so she's late. You find, and your connector, I want to make a point on that. Your connector is more than you guys just being like, here's some money, here's some people,
Yes.
put you together, peace. That's
Yes.
not what happens.
No,
Just like,
Mhm.
that is exactly, what was his name again? I'm sorry.
Jacob Medina.
Be like Jacob Medina. Be in there, be for them, make the phone calls, be in the deal.
He supported us. It's
That's
support.
exactly.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
That,
Definitely.
so what happened? So he's in there, you guys are calling lawyers, you're kind of like, what's going on?
Yeah, we reached out to realtors. We're like, what does a fire sale look like on this property? We were ready to reach out to the mortgage company. We had that information just ready to go in case so we had a deed in lieu of foreclosure. And what a deed in lieu of foreclosure offers is the opportunity to not have to go through the foreclosure process. So we could have just gone to the county, handed them the deed in lieu, and literally the deed is transferred into our name. So with that being said, we were ready to reach out to the mortgage company, the first lien holder, and say, okay, so here's the deal. We're going to pay you. We want to pay you. Can you give us a little time and try to negotiate with them a plan on how to either take the property on ourselves and get a mortgage ourselves, or sell it and pay them back? What else do we do, Pam?
I'm running through it in my head.
We reached out to an attorney in that state, of course, because this was North Carolina. We did not have an attorney in that state. So, that took a little time. That was, calling around, asking around, finding people. Again, that's what makes our community amazing. You reach out and say, who's got a great real estate attorney in North Carolina, and you get like 100 people.
Right.
And good ones that they've used too.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So I'm assuming you eventually get in touch with the borrower.
Yeah.
And
she finally does another payoff.
We do another payoff. Now we're coming up to holiday. Yeah. But she paid us off. She finally paid us.
And she paid, so how much did you loan her, and then how much did you get back?
So the total loan was 105, and there were 3 of us on it. And to answer, I just noticed there's some questions coming up. It was a $500 late fee per day.
And the way we determine our late fees, typically, I think that was part of the question, is we'll take the loan amount. We didn't actually do this. This was Jacob recommended this. How we do our loans is we'll take the amount of return and divide it by the length of the loan. So we come up with like a daily, what you're making each day. And we make sure the late fee is at a minimum that. If it's a second lien, we might make it even higher than that. So that way, if your money doesn't come back on time, you can at least be rest assured that you're making what you would have been making. We have a loan right now. It's late. We have a couple loans. They're late. It's par for the course.
Happens. It happens.
$150 a day, doing nothing, waiting for my money to come back. I'm confident it's going to come. My
Yes.
borrowers are communicating with me. I've lent to them before.
But we do it that way. We come up with that formula just so you're not robbing the borrower, so they can actually still make their money and still be able to pay it, etc.
Yes.
But yet the PML still makes money. You know, it's not it's a win-win for both people. I mean, ideally to be late or not to be late. You'd rather not be late. It's more money out of pocket, but
It
like
gives
Tracy,
them a little push to be on time.
well,
A
you're going to
little.
deter them, right? If you say it's too low, you know, well then it doesn't deter them because it can be like, oh, it's only $50 a day or whatever. If you
Yeah.
do 200, it might deter them entirely, or it might just, that's not fair. That's not fair.
Right.
We're not looking to do that. We're just looking to keep everybody accountable and still not lose, because it is, again, depending on the amount. I know the amount is something we discussed too. If it's a lot of money, you know, I mean, any money is a lot of money because it's your hard earned money.
Yes.
But try to be fair. This was already basically in place. Like when this deal came over, that was already there. So Tracy and I really didn't know the wiser. It was like, wow, did you see the late fees? You know, it was like, wow, this is crazy. So when she was late, we're like, oh my gosh, she's $500 a day.
Yeah.
How is she going to do this? But
Yeah.
it was late on. I remember this, Tracy. It was later on, like very close to when she was ready to close. She wanted to negotiate the late fee. And at that
Of
point, it
course.
was like, you've ghosted all of us. You have not been
Not
in
a good move.
communication. She did not create that. And to what you said a minute ago, Carly, communicate. Like we probably would have negotiated. Of course, we felt bad, and we didn't need $500 a day, right? But she never communicated. What she did was she took the high road several times. You know, Jacob would say, "Hey, what's going on?" And he'd reach back. He's like, "I haven't heard. Now I'm going to reach out to the lawyer, or that." Then they call the title company. Has anyone heard from her? Like, you can't operate like that. That didn't, you know, that didn't taste good.
Lesson learned. Over communicate. When you are using anybody's money,
Yes.
over communicate as a borrower. And I want to highlight, a lot of people are like, you see this title, 22% return in 30 days, and it is definitely possible. But like, I just really want to highlight, they did their due diligence. And I say there's no deal, at least I haven't been in a deal that's not an emotional roller coaster where you're like, yay, we're going to do this. And you're like, oh my God, we're not hearing from anyone and nobody knows and blah, 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 and 500 days and what's going to happen. And then you're like, oh, we heard from her. And then, oh, we ended up getting it back. But it's just the reality of it that you have to be built strong. And you guys, what's so smart about you guys, you did your due diligence and you calculated this in at the beginning, which is so smart, just in case.
You have to.
Not. I can't imagine not. Especially when we learn more and more and more, and that we still look back and go, phew, like we dodged that one, we dodged that one, because you know you can't learn every single solitary thing, and every deal is different, every scenario is different, every borrower, every lender. So you know you can't know everything going in. You just can make sure you have your standardized what you would do. But we have learned things along the way from others. And that's another thing that's so fabulous and fantastic about the community is everybody's willing to talk about it, you know, good or bad.
Yes.
Like we talk about wow, we really screwed up here. Let me tell you about it. So you don't do it. Like that's what you have to do. And you have to try to make it a better environment, or at least increase. Let's all learn together, you know?
Yeah.
Take the risk out of there, or the nervous belly out of there a little bit.
It is though. We tell our borrowers our lenders, pardon me. And it's the same for borrowers, I think too. But we tell our lenders all the time, you know, this is not easy. If it was, everybody would be filthy rich doing it. It's a lot of work you invest a lot of work in underwriting the loan. It's a roller coaster, like you said, the whole way through. You're scared to death when you send the wire. You know, as the days are getting closer to when the loan matures, you're like, please pay me back. And then when they don't, which is more common than not, it's just, okay, how are we going to move forward? Are they communicating? How, you know, and can you verify? That's another big piece. can you verify what they tell you is going on? If
Yeah.
I can verify their story, so to speak, I feel a lot better about it.
Right.
But yeah, our goal, because Pace has been pushing everybody to have a YouTube channel. It's so out of our comfort
I
zone.
know.
But we're going to do one, and we're
Mhm.
just going to focus on bringing people in, other PMLs that are willing to share their mistakes, because that's how we learn,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You got to share them. You can't
Talk
keep
about
them to yourself. You got to share
Yes.
them.
Heels.
Yeah,
Yes.
because
And
everyone's
what you
talking about all the
learned.
great parts, right? We got to talk about the bad parts too, so other people can avoid it. I
Yeah.
think that's the only way we're all going to learn and grow from it, and avoid those mistakes. Let's talk about the nitty gritties. You know, it only
Yeah.
makes sense.
What would you guys do different? What did you learn? If
Hmm.
anything, or if you're like, I'm just glad I did this.
From this
Definitely
particular,
glad.
the only thing that I think that really pops up is the loan to own. I wish we had really given it some thought. Not that we wouldn't have been the PML on this, but we would have had a backup plan. We were at the last inning going, oh my gosh, look at this property. We're both, Tracy lives on one side of the country, I live on the other. So we're
Yeah.
always on the phone and we're Zoom or whatever. And we're both like, oh my gosh, look at this beautiful house. And we're looking and we're like, oh my God, wait a minute. Reality's setting in. What if? What if? So loan to own, because that was a whole other set of like stress on itself. So we
Right.
definitely learned that lesson.
I think too, like prior to this loan maturing, we had funds come back, right? That we relent out very closely. And one of the things we learned is if we have a loan that's really close to coming back and we have funds that we're wanting to relend, we kind of pause and we go, how is this coming along? What is the reality that we're going to get paid back on time? And what's the reality that we might have to take over this, assume this property? And if that means we have to put some cash aside and not relend it to make sure that we have the holding costs, if it turns out they don't pay us back and we have to take over the property, I think that's something to just managing the funds that you have out. We see that a lot from people where they get a little overexcited. They lend out every penny and then something goes wrong and they're like, oh, I have nothing to deal with this property that I'm literally now owning.
It's almost like the lender has an exit plan, right? An exit strategy if it goes wrong. I think
Yes.
it's really smart to think that way.
It's a good way
What
to
if, right? It's an exit strategy for both the borrower and the lender. What are you? So when Tracy and I talk to lenders or we build those relationships with the borrowers, we have very similar, Tracy, very similar conversations. Like, what's your exit strategy? And then with the PML, the same thing. Like, hey, this is what could happen. This is where it is or where we're at, just so they can start like thinking about, geez, like Tracy just said, if I'm giving my last $50,000 and I don't have extra, what if it goes south and I have to, take over this property or whatever it may be. So I think both sides have to have, an exit strategy just in case.
And that's part of your due diligence. It's so true. So
Mhm.
true.
Mhm.
And so these guys learned all of this with Gator Method, and you guys can join Gator Method at Derek's backstage. What's the link, Derek? I know one of them is chompychomp.com. If you guys,
I love it.
I love that one too. Chompychomp.com. I think that's the easy way to remember. But that's the stuff that we go over. We talk about how to protect your money. We talk about loan to own, meaning like if you're loaning on this, just be ready to own it.
Yes.
Say default,
Yes.
because that's the last. So we talk about how to be safe. You meet people in the community. Last minute, I need a lawyer in that. So that's what this is for. So
Yeah.
you guys,
And
congratulations.
99.9% of our deals all come within the community.
They do.
People say to us,
Yes.
oh, how do you guys advertise? We've
don't
never
have to.
once posted anything. It's all by building relationships. We Zoom with multiple people, probably 20 plus people every week. We meet new people, borrowers, lenders. We build long-lasting relationships. That's what the community is all about.
Yes.
It's pretty awesome.
If you focus on that, you don't go wrong.
No.
Yeah.
The money will come.
Carly, would you
Hi,
like to
Derek.
What's that?
Would you mind putting our email in the chat? That way, if people have
Yes.
questions, we love to
Where-
help.
I didn't get a. Where can people reach out to you? I'll put it in the chat, or Derek can. One of us
Oh,
can.
perfect.
I think
Yes.
Derek will have to. He'll get to.
Oh,
more
good.
people.
Okay.
What is it?
It's chicksinvesting@gmail.com.
I love that.
And just shoot us an email
It's investing.
CHICS.
CS investing.
at Gmail.
At Gmail. All right. Let me put this
Perfect.
up here.
Is there like a social platform? Do you want them to follow you guys on your social, or do we just want to do Gmail?
Our new YouTube that we were talking about
Yes.
is going to be at Chicks Investing.
At Chicks Investing. Okay, we're gonna go find you on YouTube. Every single one of us. I'm gonna go. Is it already set up?
It's set up, but we've not made a post yet. So maybe there's a way to I don't know anything about YouTube, but I'm going to be learning.
We
Yes.
learned it's a necessity for sure.
Maybe
Yeah.
we can share this on our YouTube. I don't know how that works, but
By the way, ladies, as far as assistance with your YouTube, of course, I'm backstage and I'm analyzing what you're saying. And as soon as you said social media, of course, it triggered me because that's what I do here for Pace Morby. And so you guys would be fantastic on YouTube. Trust me.
Well,
Right? Trust me,
you.
you'd be great.
Thank
So if you
you.
need any pointers on how to leverage your YouTube channel
Mhm.
so that you can create a little and get so much out of it, I work for Pace. I will be at your disposal.
Thank you so much, Derek.
Thank
You
you.
don't know what that means because we really we're gonna need you.
Yeah, no worries. No
You
worries.
might wish you didn't make this offer.
No.
He's gonna be like, oh
everyone's
my
gonna be like, Derek, what's your email?
No.
Can you put your email in the chat?
Yep, I'm going to put my email in the chat right now. I'm putting my email in the chat right
I
now.
think we might have your email already, Derek.
Yeah, you think so? Okay.
I think so.
PaceMorby.com. Okay. So
You are
my email's in
amazing.
the chat.
Oh,
And
that's amazing.
Everyone
We
needs
so
YouTube
appreciate
assistance
everybody
like
that showed up today too. That's so
Yeah.
exciting.
You're so welcome. Yes.
We're just all about bringing value to people and, just having people learn from our errors because we make a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, you have to make
We all
them
do.
learn, right? It's all growing.
I love
We're
how you
willing
guys
to
take
grow.
advantage of the community. Absolutely. That's where it's
Yeah.
at, the community. Beautiful.
Thank you so
So
much
I'm
for
going
having
to, you're so welcome. Let me make a quick announcement. So there is a meetup happening on Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Mr. Pace Morby himself will be there. It will be in Scottsdale. It's a meetup here in Arizona. For more details on that, head over to whereispace.com and you'll have all the information for you as far as the specific details as to where that location is located, will be at.
Yay. Pace
All
be
right.
there, right?
Pace will be there. Pace will
Pace.
have a kind of like a Pace hangout with Pace day that same day, and he'll bring his friends and family. Well, not family, excuse me,
Yay.
just friends into the office. We'll hang out, and then they'll be at the meetup, and Pace will be there. Absolutely.
Awesome.
I wish I
Yeah.
was there.
Fun.
Me too.
Pace is. Oh my God, it's so amazing
So
to be
much
around.
fun. So
Yeah,
much
yeah, it's
Such good energy.
It's awesome to be around.
great energy. Great energy.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
so
you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. And email us if you have questions we didn't answer.